Hello and greetings. Welcome yet to another session. And I would like to shout out to the previous panel. Thank you for such a beautiful insight. With me, I have a roster of panel speakers, and we're going to talk about we care, we believe, we persist. And panelists, I would request you to kindly mute your mics until called upon to introduce yourself. And I will begin with you, Lynn Doll. Please tell us who you are and what inspired you to join us today.
Greetings, everyone. Good day. My name is Lynn Dowdell. I am the founder of the Dowdell Experience, which is a leadership and experience um, consultancy that helps to inspire leaders, entrepreneurs, and the community to lead in a manner that is filled with authenticity and intentionality. I come from a background of corporate America, 30 plus years. And I started off in the front lines as a customer service representative all the way into management. And it was always quantity over quality. And I kind of never went with that trajectory and wanted to change things. So that's how I got into my company, the Dowdo Experience, and formulated the Elevate framework. And I felt like the She Summit and our Roundtable Panel, we care, we believe, and we persist as much in alignment with where I've gone in my career from the beginning to now. I'm happy to be here with you
We're
ladies.
happy to have you as well.
Mhm.
Lynn Doyle, I hope I do pronounce it right. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. I'll just call you Lynn. And we welcome you. Thank you for joining us. Tara, over to you. Your mic, please.
Oh,
Okay. We can now hear you. We can now hear you.
oh, perfect. Okay. I just had a lag in it, I guess. I'm Tara Jade Fox. I am an actor, a speaker, and a performance coach, or I kind of like to call it more of an authenticity coach, because we're not about performing. We're actually about dropping the performance and actually just being. So I use professional acting techniques to help high performing women, corporate, learn how to be felt authentically, which makes you unforgettable, which is kind of what we all want to have. I
Yes.
love when I saw the roundtable of we care, we believe, we persist, because I feel like, especially in the age of AI,
Yeah.
we have to have a certain amount of humanity and authenticity behind the AI power. And I feel like this is just so timely to talk about. So, very excited to be here.
Tara, you are in the right place and we welcome you. Lauren, over to you. Tell us who you are.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lauren E. Petrullo, and if you can't tell, my favorite color is pink, including to the details of my microphone. Founder of Mongoose Media, performance marketing agency and creative studio. And like Lynn, I have a background in corporate. I originally worked at the Walt Disney Company, where I was, according to our org chart, 4 accidents away from being CEO. I'm super excited to be here because while I was in the corporate life at Disney and then another large Fortune 500 company, I was lucky enough to see the contributions of female leadership. And now that I have had my own company for almost 8 years now, and as Tara was referencing in the emergence of AI, there's really an absent voice for a lot of women. And AI is what we use to run my 17 full-time team plus contractors. And we have seen over the past 5 years of our use of AI that a lot of the discussions that we'll have today have rendered us more successful because of how we persisted, we cared, and we believed amongst the team at times where, oh man, did the technology want to fight us the other direction? So I'm super happy to be here.
Lauren, we greet you and thank you for joining us today. Dr. Janice, over to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am Dr. Jan Fortman. I am a relationship communications coach, an author, and the producer and host of Relationship Matters TV. The way we communicate is the success or failure of our relationships. And I wanted to be here just to listen, to observe, and I just know that I'm going to get a lot of value, motivation, and inspiration from all of the women that's on the panel. As a matter of fact, all the women that are involved in this summit. So I am very grateful to be here. I am in Chicago, where we are expecting 40 degrees below zero. So please pray for us. Thank you.
I guess we are praying for you, Dr. Fortman, and we look forward to learning from you as well. Miriam, tell us who you are.
Hi, everybody. Wow, I'm stuck at 40 degrees below zero. That is wild. Good luck. I hope you have a warm coat. I'm calling in from Boston, which is also not warm, but warmer than that. And I am really excited to be here today. I'm one of 4 co-founders of a consulting group called Listen to Your Mothers. We are founded to really focus on amplifying stories for change in the workplace and really kind of lifting up what are the things that moms need to be able to be their best selves within the workplace, and how can we translate that into systems and structures that employers can actually implement. And we're founded, based on our own professional and personal experiences as moms and working professionals. And so I think just being in this space with all of you, just, our core values are, like I said, amplifying stories for change. And obviously we try to do that within our own work, but being here and being in this part of this broader space, that's what it's all about, is sharing our unique perspectives and trying to turn that into another one of our values, which is challenging the status quo and really pushing to make change for future generations. So thanks for having me.
We're happy to have you, Miriam, and listen to your mothers. That's really interesting. And Effie, tell us who you are. Your mic, please.
Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
My name is Effie. My name is Effie Yonan, and I'm from a product design background. I'm very interested in technology and how it can be used to solve social problems. And currently, I'm also a member of Women Tech Makers. Women Tech Makers is a community of women from all over the world who are working to improve the inclusivity and the number of women who get into tech and the number of women who stay in tech. So I've been with Women Tech Makers for 3 years, and during that time I've gotten to speak at different events about inclusion for women and to advocate for women generally. So anything that involves women, I'm very passionate about it, and that's why I'm here.
Yes, Effie, and this is your second She Summit, so we're happy to see
Yeah.
you once again. And now, panelists, now that I've had you, we're very eager to learn from you. I myself am Lynn Guitar, Communications Director at GatherVerse, and it's a kickoff for me right now, and I will call upon you, Tara. How is care practiced at scale without weakening authority? And anyone can chime in as well.
Yeah, honestly, I almost feel like the reverse should be asked, because I don't know how you can have authority and not care. I personally believe like care is essential to authority, because if those who are in authority, if you can tell they don't care, I don't really think they're great leaders. There's not a lot of authority there. So I honestly feel like care is like the pinnacle, the cornerstone of good authority, at least. You need to have that caring foundation for people to want to follow you, or to follow you long term. Because if they can tell, hey, there's not care, you're like, I'm out of here. So I personally know that, like when I've worked with directors, you just know. I mean, we're human. We know when somebody doesn't care, and the moment you can see somebody doesn't care, like that's when the wheels start falling off. So I personally feel like the more care you do bring, the stronger your position of authority, the stronger your position of leadership.
Yeah, that's a strong perspective that you bring there, because I believe that there has been a debate between traditional leadership and the current leadership, and one of the things that was missing from traditional leadership is care. So you bring up a very, very insightful point. Lauren, I saw you agreeing to what she was saying. Please chime in.
Yeah, so I think that, yeah, when you lose the authenticity, so much of what Tara was talking about and where she leads in, it tells. And especially when you look at multi-generations that are working in your organization, from Gen Alpha or even like the Gen Z, the very like unempathetic, very chill, like it comes across inauthentic in a way that's going to cost your company significantly. So I think at least for us, like practicing care at scale, while our team is still like 17 full-time is not large, but it's not small. And we manage brands and clients with 200 to 2,000 employees. And so at scale, I know that we hire people that I've never met. I know that my clients have divisions they've never heard of within their organization. And so for us, at least, we've really brought it down to three things that's worked for us that we recommend to all of our clients. Even if you don't know the people, everyone that's under you or under you, say that you're in a director level position and you have subordinates with their own teams that they lead. When we onboard everyone, we ask two major questions at the very beginning. And one is, what's your motivator? Because not everyone's motivated by money, right? Some people are motivated by like getting off at 5 p.m. When it's 4:59, they're out faster than Edward Cullen in Twilight, right? And then if they're not motivated by money, what is that motivation? So we ask that everyone when they onboard. And then the second piece that we'll always ask is, who's their most important person in their life? Who's their inspiration, whether that's alive or past? And why we do that is because then we block out important dates around that person. We've had one individual, it was her grandfather. Her grandfather passed 7 years ago. Every year on their grandfather's anniversary, she didn't have to request off. That day was always given off. And it was a way to practice that it didn't matter whether you knew or didn't know. That was a reserved day for the person that was most important. So we do that onboarding right away. And then the second component is we try to do PPF. It's goal setting, so personal, professional, and financial goals. So we ask, what is your goal, your PPF, one of each for the year. So that's not always when they start. People might have start, but we do that annually. And so that has to be on file and available to all leaders, so that when they are having a one-on-one, which might be annually or semi-annually with members of their team, they can still come to the conversation with care at the scale to the way that they can manage it, depending on how busy their workload is.
Lauren, I see where you're coming from, and I wholeheartedly agree with you, and I was taking notes on that as well. You know, Effie, what do you have to say? Do you have something to add? Your mic, kindly.
For me, sorry about that. For me, there's two ways that care can be scaled. So what I've noticed is that as a product person, because my background is in product, I've noticed that in several organizations, what really determines how decisions are being made are metrics. So we'd want to look at things like how many users are using our system and things like that, and how many employees are being productive. But I'd like to suggest also incorporating care metrics. These are things like the employee well-being, things like psychological safety, inclusion, trust, and general safety. And these metrics can be put alongside the regular metrics, so that by the end of the day, when leadership is going through these metrics and making decisions, they're making them alongside the decisions that will increase care in the organization. As I always say, when you enter into an organization, you can usually just feel how leadership treats the rest of the organization. And the organizations that I've seen that are really successful are organizations where leadership is very careful with the way employees are treated and employees are cared for, and it trickles down to the customers. And you'll notice that customers are really able to interact with the company properly, and this leads to success. Thank you.
All right, Effie, that really added quite a weighty point when you're talking about it. Always trickle down to the customers. They will reflect your characters, the leadership. Dr. Fortman, please bring up your sentiments.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something briefly to this. Often, as women, we feel that if we show that we care, we feel that that will also show a lack of authority. But when you think about it, caring is a leadership strength. And that's just something I just wanted to add to that, because as women, we care, but sometimes we're just afraid to show it. But as I said, it's a leadership strength.
Amazing. And this drags me to the next question, which I'm bringing over to you, Lynn and Miriam. What distinguishes care from sympathy? What's the line between the two? Lynn, your mic, please.
Care drives capability, where sympathy, it kind of pauses the accountability. A lot of times when it's led into care, it's like, what do you need to succeed, and how do we hold the line? Sympathy asks, how do you make it easier for right now? And as leaders, when you care, you want to invest into your employees, you want to invest into your team, so that the growth is not just about comfort, but it is about strengthening the team and the organization as a whole. I think with sympathy, it may feel kind of like in the moment, but care is more, it honors the people, the potential, and the leadership itself.
Wow, that is well stated. Miriam, I see you're very eager to jump in. Please chime in.
Yeah, well, I mean, Lynn, I appreciate what you said, and Dr. Fortman as well, just to build off of that piece around thinking that care is kind of antithetical to authority. And I feel like it also often is like, oh, well, if you show you care, you're showing weakness, or you're like a pushover. And I think that it is really, like, flipping that thinking is really important. I've had, and this is sort of a little bit to Lynn's point, like around accountability. Like, I've had the hardest conversations with my employees when I care about them. And because I know where they're coming from, I know what's going on. I do actually care and want to invest in how they're doing. So I want them to do better. And I think that they feel that in a much different way than somebody who's just trying to have like a performance conversation but doesn't know anything about them. And on the flip side, I felt, I'll bring the mom perspective in, but like, as a new mom, you're not sleeping, you're maybe trying to breastfeed and pump and blah, blah. And I've felt plenty of sympathy from people who I also know don't care very much. And so I think, like, Lynn, to your point, it's like care is about, okay, I am so invested in you that I want to think about how do we work together so you can show up as your best self in this environment. Sympathy is like, oh, that's too bad. I feel bad for you, but is it my problem? Not necessarily. Mm-hmm. So like, that's sort of how I think about the two.
Miriam and Lynn, you did it you did it quite justice when you defined the difference between care and sympathy. And I just want to shift gear. Which organizational behaviors can undermine care and belief? Tara, Lauren, please share your thoughts.
Yeah. Well, obviously the easy answer is not caring and not believing, but on a deeper level, there is, I would say, apathy. Like, not even just not caring, but just being apathetic about everything, about how you show up, how you do things. I mean, we've all heard it, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you start to throw away the little things and just not take pride or ownership over little things, it's going to start trickling down into how you do everything. And people start noticing, and people you start getting that reputation. And once you do that, again, and then it trickles down like company wide, things start getting tolerated because everybody's like, well, it doesn't matter. It's a little thing, the little things. The little things do eventually become the big things.
Yes.
So, it's important to catch the little things while they're little things, because, to the point of like when you're talking to an employee or a partner and it's become a big thing, it becomes a much harder conversation to have versus let's talk about the little stuff. Let's find ways, talking about caring, let's find ways that we can make it so you do care about this.
Yes, Tara, I absolutely share the same sentiment with you. Catch the little foxes before they destroy the whole vineyard. Lauren, what is your take?
Yeah, I love like distilling Tara's where I like even was taking notes. I was like, yeah, it's like when you're inconsistent or you allow exceptions to become the rule, that undermines care and belief because you're setting a tone where you don't actually show up in the way. Like I think as everyone had referenced earlier, especially how Lynn had said, like what I took away was when you care about someone is you're taking action for it versus sympathy is pure acknowledgement. And so when you're doing actions that are inconsistent with what you're promising, it totally undermines the behaviors. Like everything Tara was saying, I'm like, yeah, like let me make sure I take those notes. The only other thing I would add is a piece that I personally experienced was the gossip side of when you're trying to care and be sympathetic, to which sharing someone else's journey or their challenges to an individual that hasn't earned the trust for it. It can come across as caring, but then it might be that same sympathy that we were saying where it's, you don't actually care. You're just pretending to. That was brought up earlier. So I think the biggest undermining that I've personally seen is when that trust and that vulnerability is brought and shared to a leader or to a coworker in any capacity, and then it's shared, and from there it spreads like wildfire, where then it can be misinterpreted and used as a volley of excuses for any inconsistencies or exceptions that are being made for other people.
Yes, I hear you, Lauren. That is very impeccable that you highlighted that. Let me just shift to another discussion, and I'm coming to you, Dr. Fortman. How can decisions indicate belief in the face of uncertainty? Your mic, please. Kindly your mic.
Okay, there I am. Just muting and unmuting. When you think about it, when you think about uncertainty, it has to be, I would feel, value driven and not fear driven, because as leaders, it's hard for us sometimes to say that we don't know everything. And when we refuse to show, I think, that our uncertainty, and when we refuse to acknowledge that there are people within our systems, employees, other leaders in the system, when we show that I don't know everything, I want you to give to me, to share with me what your beliefs are. And I think that helps because it shows your authenticity. It shows just who you are. So, as leaders, we don't know everything. We don't have to carry all of the weight. So I just think you need your support systems. You need to realize and understand that there are a lot of talent in people who you might supervise, even people I like to talk about personal relationships too, even in your personal relationships.
We are on the same page, Dr. Fortman, especially when you said sometimes it's hard to say or to admit, I don't know the direction, but that is where boldness comes in. The boldness to say, I need help. That is what will define what a leader and how they will face uncertainty. Anyone who wants to chime in on this, I want to hear more thoughts on this. Correct.
I'd love to chime in. And just kind of to this question and the last one, just to put it into tangible pieces. So we see a lot of people talking right now about return to office policies, and I think that's a good case study in what we're talking about. I think that there's, in terms of like how care can show up in these big decisions, and also what organizations can do to undermine care. Like, how are you designing these policies in a way that's really understanding what the needs and situations of your employees are? And I think there's a huge opportunity to do it in a way that shows leadership when you're really engaging folks in the process, number one. And number two, even if you've engaged them and maybe you're kind of headed in a different direction than some people want, providing transparency about kind of what are the non-negotiables, what are the questions that we still don't have answers to, and how are we going to get there, I think is a big piece of it as well.
Definitely. And thank you for highlighting that case study. I'm thinking about uncertainty, and I just want to take us back to 7 years ago, that is, or 6 years ago, that is during COVID-19, when uncertainty hit a lot of the world. Let's just say the world. Everyone was hit by uncertainty, and the ability for leaders to just bring it on and be transparent. This is where we are. We're waiting for directions from the top of the governance, and even coming up with policies like working from home, and how will we go back to the workplace when this thing is done, So I deeply resonate with that. Effie, do you have something to add to this discussion? Your mic, please.
Oh,
There
sorry,
you
I
go.
keep forgetting. So, yeah, so, 1 minute. So, I think so, decisions can indicate belief, especially in times when you really need the core values to be transmitted down in the organization. Let's say in your organization as a leader, it's your job to make sure that everyone works hard and everyone promotes a culture of honesty or trust or inclusivity. So certainty there can, decisions can show whether you trust the employees, whether you can follow through with what you're saying. It's one thing to say that we believe in honesty, but it's another thing when your decisions as an organization are reflecting that. And I also think that they can also show belief in the future. So if we're advocating for something like honesty in the organization, and we are talking about a future where everyone is able to maybe thrive in the organization, and it really makes sense when we're able to, if we're able to make decisions based on that. It shows that we believe in this future that we're trying to build, and that will trickle down and inform and really change even the minute details in the organization. Yeah, thank you.
Lane, Effie has mentioned something very, very profound. It's one thing to say we believe in something. It's one thing to say something, but walking the talk, that is where the action meets the talk, and most of the time it ends up not reflecting what we just said. But I want to hear your perspective. How is belief translated into action?
Well, I think that a lot of times we do a lot of what, as the doctor said, going into believing that. How did she say it? Believing that I had the thought frame in my mind. I wanted to expound on that, but basically, being more authentic and in a way, so to speak, vulnerable. A lot of leaders think that makes them weaker, and I just wanted to say to that, it actually doesn't. I think that when you over communicate without follow through, that is what the weakness is. And I think that your team, your employees, and your partners, value the fact that the vulnerability, to say that you need help, to align everyone, that energy trickles down from the top to those that are face front forward for you in your organization. So those are things to look at and appreciate in leadership, being authentic and intentional, and having a bit of vulnerability, and not thinking that the strong man is what you have to be at all times.
Lane, I couldn't agree more.
Yes.
Lauren, do you want to add to that? And then I'll come to you, Dr. Fortman. Lauren, how do you walk the
Sure.
talk?
I think echoing a little bit of what Effie brought in earlier, how important KPIs are. I mean, at the base level, if you're going to translate something into action, you always need to have a KPI that's what does success look like. So how do we measure that this action is successful? And also who is going to be accountable for the outcome? I think so often we talk things into existence, but then there's this space where no one's taking pure ownership of how I'm going to move this forward. So having some sort of leadership role of where there is someone who's on top of the accountability section, where it's like, okay, I'm going to own that we're taking this initiative. We've all discussed it internally. I am going to carry it through by this date. And then here's the one or two KPIs of which I'm measuring. And it doesn't have to be performance KPIs in any way, shape, or form. The KPI secretary measurement is participant. It could be employee engagement. It can be smaller things that just show that this is being communicated well. I think the way that we have tried to do it well, I'm not saying it's the best, but it's working for us, is that we have this 3-step system where essentially if we're talking about something and we're saying, hey, we're going to transfer, there's a GatherTown. There's this online virtual desk situation. And we're like, hey, are we going to bring it back? It's a very great collaborative tool. We're remote. So if we're going to bring that back in, we'll discuss it, and then we'll create a pilot team, which is usually 2 or 3 of our PAC members. We'll go through the kinks together before full rollout, because what we've seen belief being translated into inaction is where we're just talking, is we're saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. Leave it out. No one does anything else. So we'll pilot it, we'll discuss it. We'll pilot it with 2 or 3 team members. We'll try to break everything we can. And when 1 or 2 of the team members we pilot on feel like evangelists, then we'll roll it out to more people for further adoption. But the biggest thing for me is when you believe in something, you're going to take action, trying it in a small sample size to make sure that you have appropriate change management if you're going to install something that can affect a significant number of people in the workplace.
Yes, Lauren, what you just highlighted is very important and worth consideration, right? Dr. Fortman, what did you have to add on this?
I think that belief becomes action when you as a leader model what you expect, because that way you're trusted. And also, I also think that belief becomes action when you invest in your people. Because think about it, you're a leader of a company, an organization. You say one thing and then you do another. So people look up to you. They want to know really what is your belief, and your actions, what you model is what you show your people. And so that's what I think, you have to model what you expect. You have to have integrity, even when you're under pressure. And so that's really what I think. That's really what I try to do with my company. My company is small, but they look up to me. And if I say one thing and do another, if I say, well, I believe if we do this, this is going to happen. But I do something totally different. So you have to model whatever it is you expect. And that's how I feel belief becomes action.
That's well put, an excellent point there that really quite summarized what belief can be translated to action. And I'm going to the next question, and I'm bringing over to you, Miriam. How is persistence distinguished from stagnation? You know, the point where you're too persistent, but it feels like you're mark timing. How does a leader navigate that kind of situation?
Interesting. I feel like there's a few different ways that I'm thinking about this question. One is not exactly kind of in response to what you just said, but something that I think about a lot, which is that persistence comes from believing that like, I think there's a piece around generations, that believing that we need to do better than we've done in previous generations, not just do the same. I think a lot of times we can get in our own way. I've sometimes, like, when I'm thinking about my work and the work I do to support moms, like, and this might be controversial, but some of the biggest roadblocks come from moms who have kids who are older, who were like, I had to go through it myself and I did it. And so, like, you should too. And I think that if we are able to collectively say, yeah, I did it and it sucked, and now I want you to have a better situation than I did, and sort of invest in that next level, that is where we can really persist and not just accept, like, let's just stay in this state where it's like, well, it's okay, we can do it how we've done it before.
Wow, thank you. You know what I'm hearing from you, honesty has a real part to play, right? Being honest. Yeah. Effie, what's your experience? And Tara, please share your thoughts as well. Effie, your mic.
So my experience when it comes to persistence is that one thing you can always count on is that there will always be challenges, and your role is to be ready for them and to adapt quickly. So for me, what distinguishes it from stagnation is, are you willing to learn from this? Are you willing to look for alternatives? A quote that I saw. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, it said, if you're trying to get into a room and you get challenges while you're trying to get into the room, don't just wait for the door to open. Look for a window, look for something else, try other ways. So the difference for me is that persistence is you trying other ways to get to where you're trying to get to. But stagnation looks like trying the same thing over and over. And like the speaker before me said, sometimes we tend to get into our own ways. Maybe we tried something and it has not been working, and and although it has not been working, it's what we are still conditioned to do. It's one of the psychological biases in product. We call it. I think I've forgotten it, but it's a bias where you prefer the familiar over something you're not used to. So, and yeah, so that's what leads to people saying things like, I did it and it sucked, but you still need to do it even though you're coming after me. So yeah, that's how we can embrace persistence instead of stagnation.
Yes, that hit home quite well. And Tara, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, well, I think Miriam and Effie did a great job with that question. I would add just to, like, how to distinguish it personally, like on a personal level or on a corporation level. If you're asking that question, is this persistence or is this stagnation? I think you kind of know. And so it's kind of like, go with your gut. If something in there, especially as women, we're very intuitive. If there's something in you that keeps nagging you, going, it doesn't feel quite right, it kind of feels bogged down, there's your answer. I also feel like if you do have that question and you're just still like, I just don't know, is this just me in the moment being like, it's a bad day? That's what coaches are for. That's what business partners are for, going, hey, I have this. I mean, having an outside opinion is worth its weight in gold, because I mean, they're not stuck in your head with all of the, should I just keep going? Should I just persist a little bit longer? What happens if I about face? What happens then? it takes somebody going, I don't have any of these attachments, to go, no, I think you're good. I think you're on the right trail. Maybe it just needs a small shift. Or maybe it's going, hey, it is a massive overhaul. Whatever it is, I think having somebody you value, like their opinion, take a look at it and be like, hey, I need a second opinion. And, back to the point of, I don't think that makes it weak. I think it makes you a stronger person. You're only as good as the people you surround yourself with, the people you have, in your quiver, so to speak, for when those tough questions come. I need somebody that I can go up to and trust and say, what do you think?
I hear you, Tara. Beautifully said. I'm coming to you, Lauren, on this next question. How is momentum restored in the face of setbacks?
I mean, sometimes I'm just like, just punch it through. I wish that could happen. But like what I want to happen and what is actually happening amongst the team, what I have found, at least most of the time when we have setbacks, it falls into one of two things. It's either people issue or a process issue. And I bet most of us, when we take a look at it, it's a poorly defined process issue, because when someone is working on something, assuming there are no outside external factors like the pandemic, all those type of moments was like one of our biggest setbacks. But when we are finding ourselves in a situation, we have a setback, what we have found success with is the simple, like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. We have to set new micro goals, and it's painful. I cannot tell you how painful it can be when you're like, we have a timeline that we need to launch this by. These are the KPIs we need to hit. But if we don't scale it back and make micro moments so that we are, yes, completing a marathon, we have to celebrate each mile marker in between, or we'll have burnout and we'll have a complete collapse of the full deliverable. So the momentum restoration that we will try to do is to reconfigure our expectations and deliverables in micro chunks, and then seriously evaluate if it's a people or process component, because when it's a process, that's full ownership on leadership and they have to jump in. And if it's a people component, then you have to have a discussion and look at, is this who we're going to continue momentum with, or do we bring on more resources to support where that people component dropped?
Yes, and I really resonate with what you said, celebrating the small wins that really ails or just delineates the need to feel burnt out, right? Thank you so much for beautifully highlighting that. Dr. Janice, please share your expression.
How is momentum restored? We all have setbacks. We have setbacks in our personal lives and in our professional lives. Don't dramatize it. What happened? Learn from it. Learn from it. Move forward. Recenter yourself. As I think it's a movie, The Lion King. It's in the past. What can I learn from it? And then you can restore your momentum. I tell that to my clients when, my relationship, this is happening and I thought I was moving forward. Okay, but what did you learn from it? What can take you forward? So that's something I think that we should all think about in our professional journeys and in our personal journeys. Move forward. Stay there.
Move forward, move forward. Miriam, do you have something to add to this? And Lynn as well, I want to hear you.
Yeah, I would just add, just like, in the day-to-day, we get so focused on the process, and sometimes it's easy to lose sight of the big picture. And so I think just any opportunity that can be had to just step back and say, yeah, maybe the circumstances have changed, or maybe the process isn't working, but like, why did we originally set out to do this? What are our values that are driving our work? And just like get people reignited around the original goal, I think is really critical. I do a lot of education consulting outside of this as well. And, it's muddy. Public education is messy. And it's really easy to lose sight of it. And I think what I say a lot is I actually haven't really changed very much on what I'm trying to push forward. It's just the circumstances of how. And so I think that's really important to keep in mind.
Yes, I caught your perspective on reigniting the vision again, right? It's like jump starting the whole organization again. Lynn, what is your perspective on this?
My perspective on the momentum, I wrote down name the reality quickly, recalibrate and redirect the energy to what's controllable. I think that silence stalls the team where clarity can mobilize the team and the momentum comes back faster, so that the team can get back aligned or realigned around the same reality. So that I think that that's very important. And then also, again, when you do that, that energy trickles down, so that your employees, your partners know that everyone knows that we are all moving in the right direction and we are all channeling the same energy. So I think that that's very important.
Yes, that was
Communication.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Or yes, and just because we can go on and on, ladies, but I want us to really conclude briefly, but with a very brief sentiment. And I want to start with you, Tara. What is the role of support system? How was your support system? Do you have a support system? What's the role for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's kind of what we were just talking about. I think it's imperative to have the support system as essentially a mirror that you can just double check stuff with. They are kind of your lifeline of going, hey, I feel like this. Do you feel the same way? Or this is the situation. I just need a second opinion that's not tied up in everything that I'm tied up in all of my lived experience and what's happening. I need somebody outside the situation. That is worth its weight in gold.
Excellent, Lauren. Go back.
I can tell you that. Sorry, I was like, I'm holding here. I can tell you from my experience, like as Tara's saying, it's worth your weight of gold. And she spoke about earlier how like having someone else to collaborate with. I mean, even if you're just going to be using AI, at least to some extent, if you hold it all in, like I call it emptying my bag. And I've been really fortunate to have really high roles of leadership at a younger age. And I can just tell you that as much as my energy and jovial presence supported the role that I had, there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom, and the support systems that I had by seeking the advice of those with greater experience than I did was quintessential to my own success. It did require checking my ego more often than not. But I think the support systems that come in, having that ego check, allow you to mitigate massive amounts of risks. And I'll just leave on like one simple example. Having been sued in a class action lawsuit related to ADA alleged incompliance, where I have a website and then an individual was unable to buy a product. I found that so emotionally crippling. I was like 26 years old, never experienced any sort of lawsuit in any capacity. And if I did not have the support systems of other business owners who were like, oh, congratulations, you've got your first war stripe, I would have found myself unable to continue employing all the individuals that I employed. So the support system, even if it's an emptying bag emotionally, if it's an accountability to check you out when your ego creeps in, or in I have experience, let me lend you resources or give you insight to jump across 6 months, like that latency period of learning collapses significantly. So the support systems overcome that burnout and enable you to persist through the challenging times that we're all going to face.
Thank you for sharing those kind experiences. Dr. Fortman, briefly, what's yours?
Briefly, you need mentors, you need coaches,
The same thing.
and you need accountability partners. Briefly, without that, you really get bogged down. So if you want to enable persistence, you need all three of those.
Right. Well, beautifully said. Miriam, what is your takeaway?
Agree with everything, and I would say people who are going to tell you like it is and not just say what you want to hear.
Amazing. And that is where you check your ego as well, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Lindell, what is your takeaway?
Dowdell.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's
Please, let me do that again. Lean Dowdell, and I'm sorry about that.
that's okay.
Thank
I get it all the time, so it was just funny to me. But actually, what the doctor had said, I had just wrote down. Your support system, mentors, peers, advisors, function as your regulators, and leaders who surround themselves with people who sharpen their thinking and share the load. It helps immensely, and I think that no one moves forward alone. So you need people to help you, these people, this support system to help you progress. It is a team effort, basically, and that's what we need to remember. Again, because sometimes, and especially as women, we do things on our own because we are always thought of as the meek and the weak, and so we feel like we have to be strong, but a great support system will go a long way and help us to grow and to get where we need to be, and also strengthen our team wholeheartedly.
thank you so much.
Mhm.
And ladies, it's a wrap. We could go on, and I want to appreciate for your kind expressions. You were kind with your wisdom. You were kind with your time. And my request to every audience who is watching this, ladies, please follow them. Look at what they're doing, and maybe you can chat with them, connect with them. If you need their services, let them know. And I can confidently say our gather was well for this panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Be well.